Shiloh ASMR. It's my first ASMR video, so please be patient with me. I went thrifting today and I got like a shit ton of books. I'm very excited about. I already have a lot of, what do you say, like poetry books and anthology books that I want to read. But I just really wanted to grab a couple more, and it just happened to come across a lot of gems today. I apologize for the low quality, but it is what it is right now until I get a good quality mic, at least a beginner one, so I can put out some better quality videos. I'm not gonna lie, I do enjoy just regular reading in my normal voice. So I will also be putting out videos like that. My goal is to expand this channel into different things, just my different interests, I guess. Or maybe just plug those different channels in here. And I'm just really kind of just trying to slowly but surely find ways that I'm comfortable with. Putting myself out there, just sharing, things that I enjoy. Just kind of documenting them as well. I enjoy it, I'm not gonna lie. And eventually I'm gonna be putting out my writing out there, so this is a good way to just rip off the band-aid and start to get used to putting myself out there. So yeah, let's get started. I found this little gem and I thought it'd be a fun read in a whispering tone. The Vampire Seduction Handbook, a guide to the ultimate romantic adventure by Luck Richard Ballion with Scott Bowen. I love the red. And the artwork also caught my eye. A little subtle artwork. Excuse me. We're still recovering from our bronchitis. We're gonna skip the intro for sure. The vampire lover. I cannot state that there is a type of woman who seeks a vampire lover. In my experience, I never thought I could categorize those I encountered who, once having met me knowingly and waitingly, sought my return. By return I did to women of all walks of life, who left a side door or window unlocked, or who met me in a field or woods, under a black night clouds, or in moonlight. There is, however, a kind of vampire who evolves into a sort of blood-drinking gallant, one not entirely a killer, but in essence, one who cultivates an erotic union with a woman for the sake of deriving that life-giving substance. He does so for obvious reasons of survival, but also out of his intensely favoring her individually because she reminds him of someone he once loved, or wish he had loved, or she appears to him to be one of many ideals of womanly beauty that he cannot refuse. That beauty being interior and exterior, of all shapes and colors. Check out the drawings. Given that the vampire needs only to dispense his or her blood to any victim to recreate his kind, the former human reproductive imperatives are left behind along with typical human mortality. But the pleasures of the flesh, for blood is a kind of tissue, remain for the vampire. What and who is a vampire? What I know of my kind, I have learned of myself and from others, and thus know only what they know. There are very little written down about our deepest evolutionary origins, but we did not spring from southeastern Europe only. The vampire evolved globally alongside Homo sapiens. More specifically, a virus resulting from gene mutations occurred far back in human history, and this led to a separate form of humanity, that being which is non-human, and as you say, undead. A great misnomer. I hope I'm saying that right. This happened for inexplicable reasons, other than to say that it happened for the same reason any other mutation occurs, because DNA is not perfect. No, one is aware of actual evidence of a divine or supernatural cause, but the human and vampire mythologies that envelop mankind have created enough of an impression that we are not supernatural. Many of us, including myself, are willing to go along with those interpretations when suitable. That is, when religion or superstition effectively distracts the minds of human pursuers or strikes fear in their hearts. Of course, if you look back across old vampire histories, a good deal of religious practice is involved in human resistance to vampirism. But the stakes, thorns, nails, and needles shot through the vampire's heart and head, and the decapitations and dismemberment and the immolation of the vampire body do the real work of ridding a community of the fanged murder. So the vampire is a formerly human creature that survives on blood and oxygen and takes every conceivable form seen in humanity, and then some. I have heard tell of vampiric pirate ships created by a single vampire captain who converted ruffians, thieves, murderers, and a few giants into a vampire crew that sought bounty on the high seas. Vampires famously trail armies, feasting on the wounded in the aftermath of battle, as happened to me at Brandywine, and have at times converted badly wounded men out of sheer devilry of making monsters, and sometimes out of the decision to create a servant who, as a mortally wounded soldier, begged not to be left to die. And yes, there have been entire brothels of vampires. We aren't shapeshifters, however. Try as I might, I cannot turn into a wolf, snake, butterfly, or bat, as some superstitions would have it. Mist, nay, not even methane, the blood diet, does not cause flatulence, Not a bad adaptation for a predator, eh? We cannot take the form of a ball of light, as said of the Logoru of Haiti. We cannot fly except on airplanes, although I do recall one fellow who enjoyed hang gliding from his mountain lair to the valley below. There is no parallel universe or satanic dimension in which we venture back and forth. I am of inbound to this earth, and so are you. We do, however, possess great physical strength, owing to our vampire physiology. Our sense of smell is on par with hounds. We have some thermal capabilities and can sense body heat, yours. Our eyesight adapts to night and we see very well in the dark. The full rays of the sun, the combined gamma, ultraviolet, and infrared rays burn us deeply because of bodily changes during the transformation from human to vampire. We can function during daylight hours shortly, and we can also cover ourselves with brief time in the sun if absolutely necessary. But the sun will kill us, blister us, burn us, and turn us to ash. There are vampires who, because of the vagaries of the virus, have their own aberrant physiology and ghoulish countenance, or in great age take a fearsome wizard-like aspects. You could, unfortunately, find yourself attacked by a vampire that does not look any mortal of this earth. Excuse me, that does not look like any mortal of this earth, even though he or she is formerly human. Of course, that's hardly what you want. You are looking for the leading man type, no. A befanged George Clooney, or a young Swain in Orlando Bloom, or Omar Epps, perhaps a musician, a rock star, a blood-sipping Devendra Banhart, or, as in my day, a decorated soldier. They exist. They're around. I suppose I could be one myself, the good nocturnal boyfriend. Nocturnal boyfriend. And given that I write this while looking out the window at the lights of the capital city of this country, we are directly in your midst, ladies. Vampire masculinity and introduction. Surely you've read some vampire stories, but they, my favorites, the first generation of Western vampire literature from the 1800s or more recent. And there are all the movies and television shows. Oh, so many bad movies and television shows. You've absorbed these fictional accounts of vampire masculinity, and they are of great variety and seeming inconsistency. A male vampire retains a strong sense of his human manliness and sexuality. What changes him in his realization that as a vampire he can do virtually anything and anyone he wants, as human imperatives and limits no longer apply. The necessities of seeking, obtaining, enjoying, and living on blood are what shape vampire behavior. But the male vampire can hotly desire both female vampires and female humans. Relations with female vampires revolve around finding and managing significant sources of nutrition. Look at this picture. That is finding and staking out human rich territory that can be shared as a couple. But female vampires can survive on their own as well as any male, and need not submit to any amorous entreaties from another vampire. Male and female vampires enjoy sex in the same manner as humans, but this is triggered by feeding and is a pleasure of feeding together. One vampire might pursue another with a sexual intent, but the act necessitates feeding, although it can also involve the vampire drinking each other's blood. Vampires feel the same emotions as humans, and we succumb to them as readily and often more thoroughly, but we contain them better. Thus, while we might appear to be almost mechanical and cold, we seem so because of our intense focus on survival. The passion in our breast stirs us as hotly as it stirs you, and given our existence, we can indulge our feelings much more thoroughly than humans. The male vampire can come across as a soldiery type, or an adventurer, a gentleman or dandy, a poet, the strong, silent type, or brash, mercurial, and unpredictable. In other words, every characteristic a man can have, a vampire can have. It all depends on his experience both as a human and as a vampire, and his situation as a vampire. But overriding all is the male vampire's sense of mission to feed, survive, and remain an enigma to the human world at large. Heterosexuality among vampires is as strong as it is for humans. Why a large part of European gypsy vampire lore, if a bit excitable, centers around highly sexual vampires of both genders. Most vampires whose intense sex drive enables them to escape the grave after burial of the mistakenly dead person and impels them to return to and ravish wives and girlfriends, and female vampires who appear entirely human, but whose sexual appetites take their husbands to the brink of complete exhaustion. A vampire, of course, cannot relate to you, the human woman, in the same habitual ways that a human man can. He cannot have dinner with you, not in a restaurant, as hours are usually limited to darkness. He is often not marriage-minded. Alas, though some are, he will not always be inclined to join your social circle for obvious reasons. You might like to swing dance, ride polo ponies, or play video games, and enjoy the social scene attendant to each. But your vampire will not feel any inclination to participate or meet your teammates, as socializing in a human world is both impossible and off limits. On other matters, however, a lover can be completely solicitous. He will meet you when least expected to make sure you get home safe. He will take you places you wish to go, because travel is a particular love of vampires, as a change of location is often a good thing. Most material possessions are within his grasp, as he might steal when it suits him, and he often likes to adorn his lover with clothes and jewels that favor her. He is a restraining order-made flesh, scourge of ex-boyfriends or ex-husbands who won't leave you alone. In times of real danger, he will watch over you, even if you don't know he's there. The male vampire can be utterly faithful in his heart. He will love you only if he says he does, but he cannot control his necessity for sustenance, and will drink blood from other women as from men. If he lies down with another woman, he will do so for sustenance, not love. Why do we sleep with you, our human lover, because you remind us of our lives as men and of the beautiful thing we vampires are no longer a human with limited time. You have a softness, sweetness, and sensual mortality that make every kiss and every quake shockingly beautiful. You are not going to be this way. Soon after I was turned into a vampire in 1777, I encountered numerous other young fellows lurking at the edges of society in the dark, who had also suffered the same fate during the war for independence, as we were of the same former social ilk, in a nation of humans who were united as by country by a hatred of taxation and a strong sense of liberty. We smartly and rightly formed a coven in Philadelphia, as we thought we should stay where the action was. The city was the capital at the time. Our youth and handsomeness made us something of a company of would-be swains if we were only human, but we saw no point in limiting ourselves, and so we pursued the ladies of Philadelphia from the main line to the river wharfs. Eventually, some of these women joined our coven. We now number some 60 members. Forever, your body will not be this way forever, but for a short time or a long time, your body and soul can be this way with a different kind of man who can let you act upon your deepest, wildest desires, and even allow you to step entirely out of your societal and familial role to become, sexually, a woman you never knew. Therein is the gist of our connection. When you are with your vampire, you are a woman who loves a vampire, and are thus unlike any other sort of woman you could be in your world. When I am with you, I am more vampire than I've ever been, because I am the whole of vampirism that you know. You contain my living sustenance. I give you the chance to connect with a primordial sexuality hidden in every woman that is only rarely attained in a sex life dependent upon other humans. All of you enclosed in your rules. The vampire has only a simple role within humanity: to feed, to protect, to love, and to convert those who should be vampires. Does a vampire lover have to drink your blood? Amid the hundreds of cinematic and television dramas about vampires, there have been recent programs that have taken a novel approach to the issue of drinking blood. In particular, the use of artificial beverages and the practice of human blood abstinence. Certainly, these ideas have crossed the minds of many. The blood state. Another term for living as a vampire is living the blood state, surviving on blood alone. And you should know that vampires follow a basic set of rules called the factors of blood, which greatly affect how your vampire romance and relationship can and will proceed. In a sense, these are myth-busting practices, because we have had to learn the hard way that monstrous and murderous behavior only gets us into trouble and makes enjoying our lives and loves all the more difficult. Take just the blood you need. Blood, like any natural resource, exists in limited quantities at any one time. Every vampire knows each victim can surrender only so much blood without danger. Do not kill in the act of feeding. You don't kill the golden goose, you manage it. Dead people produce no more blood, and drinking up humans and leaving their bodies around like piles of empty beer bottles would just make the feds suspicious. Subdue human memory. Being fed upon must be so dazzling, frightening, hypnotic, or overpowering that the person remembers the merest details only, and surely cannot bring her or himself to believe an actual vampire visited them. Convert a victim under extreme necessity only. Those vampires organized into covens are well aware that a steady population of vampires, both locally and globally, is a way to ensure survival overall. There are plenty of lone vampires converting numerous victims, with lots of unpleasant results. But those of us who take seriously our continued survival and secrecy make careful selections about which humans we purposefully bring into the blood state. That's not to say we don't do so out of love. A vampire in the modern age, and anything that helps stabilize vampire to human relationships, is a good thing. But a vampire truly does have a very difficult time not doing what vampires do. And there will always be those blood drinkers who scoff at the idea of avoiding human blood for the sake of integrating ourselves a bit more into human society. If a vampire really likes you, he is most certainly going to drink your blood. By the same token, he's not going to drain you completely. He's no fool. See factors of blood. Tasting your blood does not turn a vampire into a raving sex maniac. He can easily drink your blood and leave it with a smile, or drink your blood while you are both doing your best to maintain the swan position. It all depends on the context of his interactions with you. I'm gonna wrap it up at this moment right here. A cleansing ritual, viruses, and bacteria that a vampire takes in from drinking human blood rarely manifest themselves because they do not find a workable host. These microbes soon perish in the vampire's system and thus cannot be transmitted through the bite itself or the vampire's saliva. But if a vampire has just fed on a human infected with a contagion and soon feeds on you, blood cells from the infected victim could still be in the vampire's mouth and be transferred to you. So a proper vampire who feeds before visiting you will go through a cleansing ritual before he arrives to attend to you, or can do so in your premises. Set out a bowl of very warm water, a washcloth, natural soap, good toothpaste, a toothbrush, a nail brush, a pitcher of cool water, a small bottle of vodka or straight grain alcohol, and a cup. The vodka and water mix is in lieu of mouthwash because the strong chemical mint or other flavor can throw off the taste of your blood. But the alcohol in the vodka or grain alcohol acts as an oral sterilizing agent. As a way of initiating contact, you might help him wash his hands, face, and neck and rub in a little moisturizer. Some vampires find the cleaning ritual relaxing, while at the same time heightening their anticipation for you. If a vampire uses a dagger or stiletto, such as I do, he will include this in the cleaning ritual, as he will need for this is a candle flame, or the vodka or is something he would do on his own. Alright, we're gonna end it on page 23. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know this is a new page and I don't have many views and 0 subscribers, but I hope to gain some momentum over time. Either way, I probably will continue to do those and hope that if not just one or a few people enjoy them, I will continue to do them. Thank you for watching.